Welcome to the part 2 of this course as we are covering the data protection compliance requirements in general in this course, and this part is related to the data protection and its importance and why data protection is needed. I would like to remind you again that in the previous video we discussed the overall overview of this course, and in this particular video we will discuss about the data protection importance and the compliance requirements, why the compliance is necessary for the organization. So data protection is the right of every individual. You being the customer of any specific organization, you can think of what data do you give and what data is required from you when you go to open an account with an organization, like for example the bank. If you are going to open your bank account, the bank manager will ask you for different key information to identify you, to verify you, and the information that you give is the critical information that belongs to you, and you have the right as a customer and that your data will be protected by the organization that is capturing or obtaining the information from you. Data sharing should be for the legitimate and lawful purpose. In the example that I highlighted here related to the opening of bank account, the bank account opening is a legitimate and lawful activity because it is the right of every individual in this digitalization era to have the bank account or the digital bank account. When you are going to perform a lawful or legal purpose, then the data should be shared in that case. Data should never be shared when any unlawful or illegal activity is to be performed by either party, either the customer or by the organization that is obtaining information. Integrity and operations continuity is a critical area in when we talk about the data protection, because when the organizations lose the critical information and data of the customers, then they lose the integrity, and there might be possibility that the regulator imposes significant fines and penalties that may disrupt the operations of the organization or institution. Then the need for data protection compliance processes and controls are prescribed by the regulatory authorities, and we will discuss all these elements in detail in this course later. I'm just giving you the overview of why the data protection is of great importance these days. So the purpose of data protection is also to save the critical and confidential personal data of the individuals, the customers, and the organizations should also take appropriate measures to protect their own critical information or data. So as we discussed that the data protection is the right of every individual because it is the sensitive information belonging to some specific customer or individual, and that data should be handled with due care. So the data protection is a very sensitive compliance matter, and it has certain kinds of complexities which varies from country to country. And as I earlier mentioned in my first part of this course, that this course is not for any specific country or any specific organization. This is just for educational purposes and give you the concepts behind the data protection. So the organizations and institutions are required to implement appropriate internal controls, processes, and compliance practices so that the data protection should be ensured. And if the organization does not take appropriate measures, appropriate compliance practices are not implemented by the organizations, then there are possible chances that the significant fines and penalties might be imposed by the data protection related relevant regulatory authorities. And fines and penalties would definitely lead to the operational disruptions, financial losses, reputational losses, and the customers will lose the confidence in such organizations. You might now think of the importance of the data protection, why the data of the customers, individuals, and stakeholders should be protected by the organizations. And let's move on to the third part of this course. And before moving, please subscribe this channel and press the bell notification button, because whenever I will upload the parts of this course, you will get the notification. And if you have not watched the previous video, previous part 1 of this course, then I would request you to go and watch, because in that video we have discussed the overview of the course.